button is clicked, preparing for live stream. Here we go. Everybody got the dance move? Come on. You can move some shoulders. It's okay. Yeah, right. Like me doing this. Come on now. That's it. That's it. No, this is, yes, there you go. Come on, everybody. Let's do it here. I'm gonna like go all exorcist style.
Gotta go.
There we go. Because I have like a futon right here, so I can't like when I pull my knees up. We're good. Okay. No, we are live. Happy 2022, everybody. This is the very first Real Producers Jam session of the new year, but the 59th overall. When we were doing our pregame with everybody, I told everybody, I said, when we started these in, right when the pandemic hit, this was just really a placeholder to keep people sort of plugged in. I thought we'd do 3, 4, half a dozen of these, and then they would just sort of fizzle out. But so it's been a great way to keep people plugged in. And even as the weather's colder, generally our in-person events, we do our last one in a normal year. We do our last one in October, and then we go dark usually anyway till February, because we're competing with, client appreciation parties, office parties, and we probably could do a really awesome event in December, but it's just we don't want to pull away from the other stuff that's going on. So excited to be here. We got some fresh faces on here. I'm very excited to run these. I'm going to let the people. There's a lot to talk about. Being Omicron obviously on uptick. Everything seems to be normal-ish, but it's just kind of weird because like last year at this point, my wife and I were having this conversation. Everything was kind of still shut down. I mean, by everything, I mean sporting arenas, because that's what everything evolves around, right? Sports. That's supposed to be funny. Everything does not revolve around sports, but and now it's sort of like things are open, but they're not. So I mean, there's just kind of looming fog of, hey, what's okay, what's not okay. And I want to dive into the specifics of real estate and just how these producers are navigating the situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the realtors introduce themselves. For those of you who've tuned into these before, you know how these work. The agents introduce themselves very briefly. Hopefully everybody remembered their order. I actually kind of forgot, so that's okay. These are live. My kids might come in and pop their heads in here right now. Thank God the teachers union and CPS got everything straightened out. Amen to that. But that's a whole different jam session that I'm definitely not going to facilitate. And so without further ado, I'll have the realtors introduce themselves. I'll explain some things, have the partners introduce themselves, and we're going to start talking shop. So Brittany, I'm going to divert to you and go ahead, take it away.
So I'm Brittany Bussell. I'm with @Properties, and I've been in real estate for about 6 years. And I would say one way to sum me up is I am energized by being around other people. Robin, sorry,
Sorry. I'm Robin Phelps. I'm with @Properties also. I've been in the business 19 years. And I am gonna kind of copy what Brittany said, because I feel the exact same way about myself. I'm extremely energetic. That's probably why we did so well together in our deal earlier in 2021.
Yep. Hey, everyone. My name is Quentin Green. I'm a realtor with Downtown Realty Company and Downtown Apartment Company. Don't really have much of a fun fact, probably a little less energetic than you all, but I'm really excited to be here for this.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'm Tony Matar. I am the co-founder of the Home Coast Chicago team, and we recently just moved over to Compass. We haven't even announced yet, so you heard it here first. Fun fact about me, I guess, is I was a competitive swimmer growing up, and I qualified for the 2012 Olympic trials.
Cool.
Very nice.
Two things that I did not know about you. Well, I feel special. You made the announcement live, so I'm honored. So as obviously the realtors on here are rock stars, so are our partners. All of our partners are referred or screened/referred, whatever you want to call it, by realtors. We actually don't allow anybody to support our platform who is not highly recommended by a realtor. And so however, though, there is a caveat that people enjoy and engage what we do, but I understand, like, at the core of my being, I'm essentially unemployed without partners like what we do. And they're like, hey, Andy, I want to help support this and contribute to the cause. And I want you to create something beautiful. And I think I do an okay job of it. Obviously, I have staff that supports me, but we're nothing without the partners. I'll just come out and say that. We haven't. I remember meeting with Jason the very first time at your office in the lobby. He's like, "Yeah, this looks something I'd like to get involved with." I remember. I'm like, "Are you sure?" It's kind of like it's like the best. Like realtors would probably roll over in their grave if they heard what kind of a salesperson I was. But it's just it is designed for people who want to stay top of mind with the best of the best realtors and the most productive realtors in the industry. And so that being said, I'm going to give a little bit of an app plug because I still have people reach out and say, "Hey, do you guys have a digital version?" Our platform's different, meaning you can't just Google Real Producers and look at the previous issue. It's private. The hard copy only goes to the top 500 agents in Chicago proper based on production in 606 zip codes. But we do have an app that everybody can have access to. At least currently it is free. I'm sure they'll probably start charging for it eventually, although they've been saying that forever. So if you kind of want to be in the know, download the App Store, Google Play. And then one other thing too that I will address, because people have been asking me, is, "Hey, is your February, I'm coming to your February event, is that still going down?" Currently, yes, at this moment. We have, if they start shutting things down, we will pivot and do the same thing. Our utmost important just thing to think about and consider is the safety of our community. And so if things start getting shut down and, there's 60, 70, 90% people who are infected by Omicron and it's just not safe to do it, we're not going to do it. So we are limiting capacity to this. I know a lot of you are already coming to this, but we're excited because one of our previous people who we featured actually owns the venue. And I think it's just going to be a creative way to ramp up some brand awareness for a local business. So it's at Avondale Bowl, February 11th, 2 to 5 p.m. We're going to do a little mini bowling tournament. They'll do prizes for the winners and just, hang out. You don't actually have to bowl, but if you want to, obviously it'll be available. So some people are just going to come and hang out. Some people will bowl, but it'll be a good time. So that all being said, the people who make the stuff like this possible are our partners. So Davina, I'm going to have you kick the partner intros off, and we'll follow up with the rest and we'll start wrapping.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Davina. I am the owner of Motto Mortgage Home Services in Oak Brook, and I've been in the industry for about 2 years. And a fun fact about me is I'm very much a people person, always positive, always laughing, always upbeat, and just very much a lover of life. So.
Leon?
I don't know who it was. Coin flip.
Hi, this is Leon Mann with Home Advantage Inspections. We just went over last year about 2,000 inspections for the year, which is great. And we're already on track beating last year's numbers. We've been around for about 15 years here in Chicago, and we do mold, radon, termite, home, and commercial inspection.
Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. Jason Chmielewski. I am a real estate attorney. I have my own firm, the JMC Law Group. I've been actually doing this for starting my 20th year this year. Been dealing with agents and handling residential real estate. So that's me.
I love it. Well, this is the part where the GIF where Homer Simpson kind of like goes into the background in the bushes. You guys know what I'm referring to? This is where I kind of do that. So at least, and obviously if there's an awkward pause, I have some conversation starters. But Tony, you brought up a great point. I think just to kick it off, that would benefit the entire crew. Would you mind just diving into to that just to get us rolling here, sir?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, here we are, January 11th, and as no surprise to me, and I'm sure the other, folks in this mastermind today, I'm already seeing an uptick in activity as we head towards that kind of unofficial start to the spring market that we always talk about like Super Bowl, the day after the Super Bowl. So, I'm already seeing buyers of mine up in multiple offer situations. And especially I ran into this past week a situation where we were the first offer in, and they told us that they weren't planning to respond to anybody for at least 5 or 6 days. So kind of that mentality of sellers and listing agents, of sort of trying to get multiple offers, leaving people hanging a little bit, and it can be pretty difficult. So my team, we're pretty buyer heavy. So I'm wondering, what other tools and tricks you guys have to navigate those multiple offer situations, because I know I did a ton this past year, and I'm sure you guys did too.
Yeah, something that I did a lot in 2020 and 2021 was whenever we had a buyer that was in a multiple offer situation, we would immediately have the lender, and Davina can probably attest to this, send a note to the listing agent, like the pre-qual is great, but we would have her send a note that says, hey, I just wanted to mention that like John is so rock solid. I've done loans from before, or I used to work with his dad, or just something to sort of make the listing agent be able to go back to their client and say, this person actually went out of their way. And instead of like a letter with kids playing in the backyard, which is fine, but we were trying to stay more focused on what really mattered. And that was like the financial qualification and getting the seller's confidence up. So we pretty much make that standard now.
I would also just jump in and say, the other terms, the price obviously makes a big difference, but the certainty of going in as is, or even a lot of times if my clients aren't comfortable going in as is, from the buy side, stating a threshold for individual items that come up in the inspection, just so the seller can be confident that they will not be nickel and dimed, or small issues will not come up that will create an issue moving forward with attorney review.
Yeah, I love both of those things. And that's exactly what we do too, Robin, with the lender, chiming in and using a lender who obviously carries some weight within the industry. I'm curious also what your guys' thoughts are. Maybe Quentin, you can jump in on this. When you have a listing, are you one of the agents that's kind of telling people to just hang on to offers, even if there's maybe not multiple offers yet? Personally, I always feel like, I want to negotiate those offers as they come in, unless there's already multiple offers in a highest and best deadline. I've experienced enough times where offers fall away because, people continue to look, or they get fatigue of, just waiting around, waiting to hear back. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I would say like short answer is it definitely depends on the property and I guess the seller's general demeanor in terms of, why they decided to list at a certain price. If it's at market, a lot of what I'll try to do, and this is kind of what Robin had mentioned before our call was, during COVID, you had a lot of people who had kids. So you'd get a listing on Wednesday, Thursday, right? And then you'd hold all showings and have the open house on the weekend. I kind of do that a lot more now. I've found that it is just really easy as far as like saving time, but also it gets everyone in there. And I just won't take any offers until, that Saturday. And a lot of times you won't get the offers because they haven't seen it until the open house. And, I'll just tell them they have kids or whatever, so we can't do it. And I've found that's been very, very helpful for me. And it does give everyone a fair opportunity. So I try to do that with as many listings as possible, especially listings that are like right at market, where I know it should sell pretty quickly.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It just depends on the product and also the seller.
Yeah, no, I agree with you fully, Quentin. And it's the listings where they'll show it for 7 days in a row and won't respond to anyone.
Yeah,
that's my frustration.
I don't like that. I mean, to me, I feel like you're kind of rolling the dice there. You definitely don't want to be scaring buyers away. And it's tough sometimes, as especially in the fall, a lot of these buyers out here, they at least like to think they know what they're doing. Some of them definitely do. But they're picky buyers and they're fairly experienced compared to the spring. So, with that being said, if they're more willing to walk away if they think they've been slighted anyway, at least that's what I've found.
Agreed.
I agree. Just not taking advantage of the buyer situation is what I'll kind of say to the seller. Like, I know it's a great market and you have a great product, but let's just value every buyer that's interested and not expect there to be a line outside the door, because there may not be.
Yeah.
One property, one buyer. That's all we need.
Yep.
Right. You could have 3 offers and all 3 could just fall through because you've upset the buyer in some way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's resentment too, and appraisal issues that everybody has to handle. But the resentment is huge. If the buyer way overpays to get the deal signed, it almost kicks in immediately, that resentment.
Right.
And then it comes back to you, right?
Yeah, and then they get Leon and his team in there to do the inspection, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Wait a minute, why did I go so high?"
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Agreed.
right. Yeah.
No, those from my angle, I'm dealing with with your clients after we've gone through the contract, after that buyer paid that really high price. And, a lot of times when they do come to me, they do expect certain things and they have higher expectations. So I think it's a really good tool to keep everyone on the same page, set expectations from the very beginning for those buyers and for your sellers. So they understand, hey, great, you got top dollar. Might be willing to, or you might have to give a little bit here on the inspection or on taxes. There's a lot of different little things there that are going to affect this buyer, because you don't want to lose them. As a listing agent, last thing you want is multiple times deals falling through and it getting put back on the market. I mean, that just looks bad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And one other thing I'll say, as far as being on the buy side and doing what you can to make your offer competitive, this is something that I don't really hear a lot. A lot of agents have different preferences when it comes to, all right, when you put in the pre-approval letter, are you going to do are you going to say you're pre-approved for the property? Or are you going to give them what their max pre-approval is? I love doing max pre-approval and just jacking that thing up as high as possible. So that way, I mean, the listing agency is like, whoa, they could afford 200,000 more house and they're living well below their means. So I think that's kind of a no-brainer if you're in competitive situations.
Totally
I
agree.
agree
And of
with
course,
you.
your buyer worries that the seller is going to see that. And I
Right.
always tell the buyer, just because we can pay a certain amount
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're going to.
Yeah, it's
We're just
irrelevant, right?
trying to show them that you are not maxed out at 500.
Right.
And Robin and Quentin, from a lender perspective, we prefer to do the same thing. We always want to provide you as a realtor with a maximum offer, so that you can go to the table and your clients are prepared. But we do have those conversations with them about what they can actually afford. That's very important, in my opinion, is to really talk through the difference between a maximum and
Right.
what you really want to pay on a monthly basis. So I agree with both of you wholeheartedly. Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, you guys are spot on. And I think that sending that pre-approval with the max approval amount, even if it's maybe slightly higher than they would like to spend, but if it's well above the purchase price, that kind of eliminates some of that doubt when it comes to like people putting less than 20% down. If you are in those multiple offer situations and you've got a buyer who wants to put 5% down, maybe that's a choice, right? Maybe they could put the 20% down, but showing that they're approved for more sort of eliminates that fear that they're not qualified.
Totally.
Davina, are you getting a lot of buyers that are wanting to put 5% down?
Typically it is 5%, but I am starting to see in this competitive market an increase where, in order to get that offer accepted, they're going conventional, they're putting down more money, they're definitely paying above and beyond asking price. So in this market, I think I did see a little bit of frustration towards the third and fourth quarter where people were on their seventh and their eighth offers and really just wanting to give up and needing that encouragement to go on. And as we've entered the first quarter, I'm starting to see contracts come in within a week or within a couple of weeks. So I am starting to see a shift, if you will, where people are becoming a little more aggressive and really wanting these deals to close and putting their best offer at the forefront immediately. And I think a lot of that comes from education on both ends, from the lender and also from the realtor, that in this market, we really do have to put our best and final offer out there.
And have you had appraisal issues?
I will say in the second and third quarter, there definitely was a little bit of a longer period where we were waiting for appraisals to come back. I've seen that change. Right now, I'm getting appraisals back within a week and a half. There were times when it was during our busier period where it was taking closer to 2 weeks for appraisals to come back.
Yeah, that was brutal.
So
And
it's much better.
If a buyer wants to waive the appraisal, do you send a note that says, if this appraises for like at least the purchase price, this buyer has the means to make up the difference?
Absolutely.
We'll have our lender do that, and that's helpful also.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. We do make that a best practice, and it's been really, really helpful.
For sure.
Yeah, Davina, I guess since we're talking about mortgages, one thing I've been seeing, I don't know if anyone else has been seeing this, but I'm getting a lot of pre-approved buyers with 15-year mortgages. Have you guys noticed an uptick in that? I don't quite understand why I'm seeing that as much as I am.
I think it's a shift in the interest rate. Right now, interest rates are still at a historical low. They're expected going into 2022 to continue to be that way. Right now, to kind of give you guys an idea of interest rates, I'm seeing about an average of 3.2%. We're probably going to see that, tick upward up to 3.75% in the first part of the year. But ending towards the end of the year, we'll be going back down to a 3% rate. So I think given the interest rate and now the monthly payment being a little bit more reasonable, people are open to 15-year mortgages versus the traditional 30-year mortgage option.
Got it.
So I'm seeing that on my end as well, Quentin. I agree with you. There's definitely a shift.
Interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit as to why you're forecasting the interest rate to drop again towards the end of the year?
I think a lot of it is based upon what the market is going to do, and also some of the unknowns with COVID. Right now, we don't really know, what's going to happen with COVID. But just historically, based upon data that we've seen before and based upon the market right now, a lot of the experts are feeling that we are going to see this shift a little bit. We're also shifting more towards purchase versus refi, which I think a lot of you guys are starting to see. We're really, really heavy on purchase right now. We're not seeing as many refis, and that's going to continue into 2022 and 2023, just to kind of give you an idea. So we went through that really heavy refi boom. Now we're going to move into a purchase market.
Got it.
Got it.
So I have a question for you guys. I think a lot of people right now have the perception that interest rates will go up a little bit. And I do think that's why we're seeing a little bit, busier market at the beginning of the year now. How do you guys think that's going to affect the early market, and then later on, say summer, late summer, fall?
Well,
personally, go ahead, Robin.
No, a lot of my buyers are calling me now and saying, okay, we want to move in June, July. And I'm kind of saying, well, can we maybe meet today instead, because I'm feeling like that's going to impact our market this year. I like hearing that it's probably like a 3.75 and not beyond. And I also like hearing that you think it's going to go back down. But as far as the impact, I'm feeling like that paired with the lack of inventory we still have, hopefully will get people sort of off the fence sooner so that we can, build a better spring market and not have everything happen at once, where we have lines down the block at open houses. And it's great when you're the listing agent, but obviously you all know how frustrating that is for the buyers.
Yeah, I think Robin's right. If they can do it now, why not, right? And if you can find them something they want to buy, especially if they've got to sell and buy it in the same transaction. But overall, I think what Davina mentioned is kind of the message that I've been communicating, in that you've got to look at the interest rates relative to a longer time period than like 6 months, right? So even if they're quote unquote higher than they were 6 months or 12 months ago, when you look at the broad scale of the interest rates over 10 to 20 year period, you're still looking at relatively historic low rates. And I think, people will always need a place to live.
Yeah. And I mean, another thing is too, like, I think until interest rates hit a 4 handle, I don't think it'll do that much demand destruction, just because, a lot of people have never seen a 4 handle interest rate. I never have. So I think that's important. But also, think about, like, we're going to have a lot of first time home buyers, I think, this year more than ever. And though they're paying a lot in rent, rents are insane right now. If you go into some of these rental buildings, they're not 95% leased, they're 98% leased. So, and then 3% doesn't seem like a ton, but you do that all across Chicago, it's a lot of people. So, rents have picked up. People are going to get those renewals. They're going to be shocked by it. And it doesn't matter if it's 3.5, 3.75, they're going to probably, at least be having that conversation to buy it, whereas they probably wouldn't have had in the past because rents hadn't been up as much.
Yeah, Quentin, I would have to agree. We're expecting rent prices to increase about 5% this year. And I think now, you have a lot of millennials kind of reaching that age as a first-time home buyer where they're looking at new homes, they're looking to purchase. So I do think we're going to see an increase in purchase, especially as you mentioned, with rents just continuing to increase and, being at 98% occupancy. So I think we're going to definitely see something there.
And on our side too, guys, I'm seeing an uptick as far as multi-units, 6 to 10 units. People are buying out there now.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's partially a product of just the amount of wealth that's been created, really, because I'm seeing the same thing. That and then the new conforming loan limits, right? You're getting 4 units are up to close to 1.4, 1.5. So I mean, all those limits are up like 18%. So that's huge for a demand driver. Right.
Anyone? I just count 10 1,000 in my head. Somebody usually, or I'll make a joke like that to break the silence.
How about the private listing network? Just everyone's thoughts on the private listing network, how you use it, and what your thoughts are moving forward with that.
Well, like you mentioned in the beginning, Brittany, it's not so much a secret club anymore, right? It's TAN used to feel like, it was such an advantage and an advantage for our clients. And now with Zenlist and everything, the whole private network feels like it's just a step and not so much something that we have to offer that other people don't. I personally, for example, right now I have a buyer who's looking at a property for the second time today. It's on the PLN. She has a place to sell. And I'm feeling like, let's decide tonight, because in 3 more weeks, when she puts this on the MLS, we probably don't stand a chance in the seller working with us on your contingency. Yep. So, in those situations, I think it's good. But, I'm sure you guys have also experienced what we have, where we put something on the PLN and we get nothing. And then we put it on the MLS and we have multiple offers.
Yep.
And then you feel, so then you're a little bit torn, because what's the best thing for the seller? If you're getting offers when it's on the PLN, are they missing out? So be curious what you guys think.
I think, Robin, you're right about the home sale contingency thing. My last deal that I did actually a few days ago is a buyer of mine. He's buying something off the PLN and he has something to sell to that, in fact, it was out of state and it wasn't even listed yet. And we were able to get him under contract on this home because it was in the private network versus going to market. But, I think you're right too, in that it just feels like a necessary step now. But I do think if you generate an offer off the PLN, as long as the realtor who the buyer's working with is, understands and can communicate effectively, typically, the buyer's going to be more compelling in their offer because they understand that they've got to outweigh that the lost benefit of taking the home to market.
Yep, that's true.
Very true.
Yeah, I personally, I don't really use the PLN at all on the sell side. The only time I would see myself using it if it's like a really unique property where maybe I wasn't totally clear as to how it should be priced. I think that it would be good to keep it private and just be able to have the option to entertain things before I went to the public market. But I just have a hard time believing, unless it's the dead of, the season, you want to take it off for market time, you're going to be better off in selling a property for more on the private market than, the public market, just given the amount of exposure you're going to have. You're just limiting your pool dramatically. So I don't know. I'm open to being convinced otherwise, but I'm not a huge proponent of it.
Yeah, I think Tony had a good point also about getting almost a better offer in the beginning. I mean, right, as a buyer's agent too, I'll say like, I'm going to do comps for you. Okay, this looks like it's priced well. I think we need to come in at full price. And sometimes when it's on the MLS for even like 7 days, your buyers, I'm sure you guys experience this, are like, well, nobody bought it yet, so let's go in at 475. So, I think it's an advantage for the seller and the buyer in those instances as far as the PLN. But again, to your point, you know, you don't get any calls sometimes, and then you put it on the MLS and there's a line out the door. So
Right. Yeah.
it's, you know, I think it depends on the product. And also if it's a really unique product or something where you're a little uncertain with pricing, you might put it on the PLN and it's crickets. And then you know that you probably overshot a little bit.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's certainly a powerful psychological effect associated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or just unique situations in general. So I have one in the PLN right now where, you know, they have to sell to buy what they want, and what they're looking for is a super tight market where we're just waiting for new stuff, and I'm combing the PLN for new listings every single day. So they don't have a timeline in place. They don't have a new home to buy. So we put it on the private market with, or on the PLN rather, with, you know, instructions saying that we would need a longer attorney review and that it would be contingent on them finding the right home. We have like 10 people who want to see it, so we're actually going to do like a private market open house. But but you know, it gives you a little bit more power additionally, I think, to call the shots if there are specific needs for your seller.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
And worst case, if we don't find them a house, we pull it off the market and it doesn't look like we accrued any market time.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
It is. How do you, I'm going to completely change the subject here, but I'm wondering if you guys use any kind of social media managers, or do you do all your own social media, or sort of how do you handle content?
I run all of ours for our team. I always encourage our team members to help, but I find myself doing it,
Yeah.
and I find myself wanting and needing to find somebody to do it. But I know there's challenges with that, just because I'm very specific about what goes on it. So just content, but also design.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is a tough one. It's, you know, posting new listings and things, that's sort of a no-brainer, but Amber, my partner, she does a lot more than the rest of us. So she's kind of the you. And I think we need to streamline that, and, you know, just for branding purposes also. But like you said, there's challenges, because then you're, you know, it's almost like I'm too busy to get help, like, because then you're checking everything. And
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was a secret sauce I was missing, but it sounds like we're all in the same boat there.
Yeah, I do. I think it's incredibly important, though, having your social media in line with your business, just for exposure.
Yeah,
And staying in front of your clients.
for sure. Yep.
Robin, one of the things that we're seeing on our end, I handle all the social media for our brokerage as well. And we are starting to incorporate really fun videos that are educational, but more on a TikTok level, you know, fun, interactive, things that are in Instagram stories. I think people are looking for more upbeat content, and it's engaging. But when we started that, we saw a huge shift in the number of views that we were getting versus the standard content. So I think just moving with the times, if you will, there's definitely more interest in, you know, the fun, upbeat, you know, make you laugh type of videos with music. And, you know, people want to know that, you know, finding a home or getting a mortgage it's fun and it's exciting. And so we're really trying to shift and kind of take some of that standard content and add some fun twist to it. And we're seeing a large increase in the volume of viewers that we're getting.
Are you recording your own videos, or are you finding relevant videos and posting them?
Kind of a little bit of both. We kicked off the new year with Mortgage Mondays. So one of our team members is recording herself and just giving fun little tips every Monday, and people are really loving that. But we also have an actress, if you will, that we've hired that does a specific set of videos that are a little bit more funny and a little bit more quirky and a little bit more interactive. And it's kind of a series, if you will, where they're seeing the same face and they can identify with that person and identify with Model Mortgage. And that's the one that we've seen, you know, a huge increase, because not only are we getting traffic on our page, but we're getting it from, you know, multiple, you know, streams in terms of TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. So it's been really positive for us.
That's great. Can you do that for me?
I would love to.
That's the key. You got to find somebody to do all that for you.
Right. I think I just did, so we're set.
For our team, my business partner, Haley, who was actually on the last jam session that happened before this one, she runs all of our marketing. She kind of takes control over that. And her and I are both millennials. And so we kind of fall into the mindset where we're pretty choosy about what lives on our social media as a static post, meaning that it's there forever, right? So your Instagram feed or your Facebook posts, where we, and also to Robin's point, that takes a lot of time and energy. And so limiting kind of what we post in that regard to really reinforce our brand when people are going to look for us is kind of where we fall on that spectrum. And then supplementing that is not only our team Instagram account, but our personal Instagram account in the stories. And you can be a lot more laissez-faire with what you're posting there and kind of more in the moment because it doesn't live forever, right? So you're reinforcing the message that you're out there doing your job and helping clients or adding value or funny memes or whatever the case may be. And then those static posts that live on your page that are maybe fewer and farther between are reinforcing that brand in kind of a more meaningful way. So like, we really don't post a lot of like just listed, just sold. We really are focusing more on like branding messaging on our static posts. So stories about our closed clients, sometimes with professional photos that we'll have taken of them after they close, things like that. And then just really kind of playing fast and loose on the stories.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yep.
Now, what are you guys doing right now to get ready for the summer months, get ready for that spring market? Because, you know, obviously we're all hoping to see a much bigger push in about a month, 6 weeks. So what steps are you guys taking to get ready for that?
You know, I'm trying to make a couple of calls a day, going back to like ninja thinking a little bit. Just reaching out and using things I've seen on social media, you know, to genuinely say, hey, I saw your daughter graduated or whatever, and just sort of trying to build that up a little bit. I definitely feel like the end of the year was so busy that I tried to take a little bit of quieter time to get started this year. But of course, like all of us, you know, we work really hard and then we take a little bit of time off and then we wake up in the middle of the night and panic. So, you know, that's happening, of course, but yeah, just trying to just get a list, a good list of people going, getting in, even if they're saying, oh my God, I can't move till July, that's fine. I really still want to know about your product now. I want to come over, and then going over there early and just trying to build it up. And also, like we talked about earlier, I'm really trying to convince some of my clients to go on earlier for their benefit, because I think that we all have buyers that are just so ready and so qualified. And like you said, Tony, we're scouring the PLN every day. It's, you know, we just can't find them the right product. So, you know, when I get a call saying, hey, maybe June, I'm going, oh my God, you've got that great place. You're going to do better now. So, so yeah, just trying to sort of stay calm and know that the process is the process and that it's okay to take a little bit of time off, but just steadily keeping the pipeline going as well as I can.
Yeah. I mean, I would also say that, you know, if you haven't gotten everything in order yet, you might be in a little bit of trouble. Just because, I mean, for me, I work with a lot of renters too. So I do renters and sales, and I mean, I'm pretty busy. For me, it feels like I'm in the thick of spring right now as it is. So, you know, I got my vacationing out of the way. You know, I'll take 2 weeks off over the holidays every year, and then try not to vacation again until September, October. So, so yeah, you know, just get your systems in order, make sure you're ready to go. Cause I really think if people aren't busy yet, it'll flip like a switch pretty quickly here.
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, at this time of the year, I kind of do the same thing. I'm reaching out to my agents I've worked with, just to kind of check in, because you do lose touch. Everyone kind of takes that 2-3 weeks off for the holidays. And, you know, now is when everyone tries to start reconnecting. So I definitely think those are great things.
Yeah, Jason, we're in a similar position. We do marketing calendar for the year. And we are meeting with all of our agents right now to really talk through how we can help them, and what we can do to help to grow their business. So we're having those meetings now so that we can make sure that we're doing everything that we can from an educational standpoint, from a lender standpoint, to support not only our realtors, but support their clients and really, offer the best service that we can. But we're also trying to get ahead of recruiting and, kind of preparing for how busy the year is going to get. So that's another thing we're focused on is trying to build up our team a little bit, because and also just really review workloads as well and talk through if someone is a little bit busier, how do we restructure, how do we kind of delegate tasks and things of that nature. So I think for us, organization and kind of having that yearly calendar in place and making sure that our realtors know, how focused we are on their growth in advance really has been helpful for us.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're doing over here. A lot of is meeting with agents, trying to figure out what we can do to help you guys, make your deals go smoother, take some off of your plate so you're not worried so much about it. So, like Brittany could work on her social media, things like that, whatever it is that we can do to help with the transactions and keep the deals moving along for you guys.
Yeah.
I have a question for Leon, actually. 2021 was obviously like totally different year than many of the years past in terms of just activity level and sort of the fervor that was going on. What trends did you see on the inspection front, if any? Were buyers less worried about the condition of the home? Did you feel like sellers were preparing their homes better for market and the inspection reports were cleaner? I mean, I know personally, I was trying to really set expectations, and always have with my buyers, that we're going to negotiate the best possible deal on the way in the door, and we're not going to be worried about little, anything that's not a huge health and safety or structural issue. But I'm curious what your firsthand experience was kind of out doing those inspections and interfacing with the buyers.
Yeah, Tony, we've been doing a lot of pre-listing inspections, which was a different year for that, and people getting them ready for market so that they didn't have any red flags by the time that they hit the market. Another thing that we're seeing is when they call in, before it was years previous, you had to almost sell it. And now it was just like, listen, can you do it tomorrow? Can you do it 2 days from now? Can we get it in? How soon can I get the report? So I see a difference in the way that it's being pushed in that 5-day window, the way that we utilize it. That's really big. And then just being able to explain it, but I see people not reacting as they did in years previous about small things, GFCIs, things of that nature, even though they are safety issues, not the biggest problems. Yeah, I'd say that's in a nutshell, that's what we're looking at this year and moving forward.
Are you guys, do you guys typically recommend a pre-listing inspection for your sellers? Are you seeing that? Agents?
It depends on the property, right? The property type, if it's a single family or condo, and certainly the condition.
I love the idea. Yeah.
We get a lot of people that have lived in the house for a while. If they've been in there 20, 30 years, they say, okay, we want to get some eyes on this and see what
that's exactly the only one I had last year. So, but it's beneficial. It is. And then the buyer comes in with their own inspection and the seller's going, well, wait a minute, this is different, because it's human beings looking at something. So they're all going to have different interpretations, but I certainly don't think it hurts.
Pre-listing is a different animal. That one, you really got to be very detailed because of the fact that you're going to have a buyer come in. So you have to let everybody, you have to let them know exactly, even the smallest stuff, just to see, just so there's not any issues at that point.
Yeah.
I don't think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brittany.
No. I was gonna make a stupid joke. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say
I want to hear it.
Don't. I don't think I've ever done a pre-listing inspection for one of my sellers, but now that you guys are talking about it, I mean, obviously I've known that that's something that you can do, but I can definitely see that being helpful if someone had been in the property for a long time. That's typically not the type of people whose homes I'm selling, but yeah, I think on a case-by-case basis, that could be a huge asset.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the very least, furnace AC unit, right? Have those, take a look at those. The big items, you definitely should be doing that. But we also have like a specialist come in, and we will sort of recommend various things that, maybe would be lower budget that you can get, decent returns in. So we'll have someone come in, recommend, all right, should we redo the flooring? Should we redo the paint? Would it make sense to paint cabinets? All that stuff. So I typically find that helps as well.
Who do you use, Quentin?
We have someone in-house. So she just has an interior design background, but she sort of does our HR, and she's one of the owners of the company.
Got it. Does she provide pricing with that stuff, or just?
She doesn't, but sometimes she will go ahead and get bids for it with her network. So I'd say maybe 25% of the time she'll actually like get a pricing together. A lot of the time we just sort of send them the right people.
Got it. Cool. Great.
You guys down for a screenshot? You ready?
Sure.
Okay. It doesn't matter. You have to be. That was a rhetorical question. That's a yes question. Okay. So I will frame it like this. Do not be Davina. You got to get the mug in. Okay. I saw you rocking it. There we go. I know a guy who might be able to get you one of these. There's limited edition. These are actually the only two made. It's like baseball cards, this is it. These are the rarest ones. So do not be like my children and smile for 2 seconds. When I stop smiling, you stop smiling. Okay, you ready? Okay, hold it up. We haven't done it yet. I was rambling too long. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, I think we might have got it. Good was smiling, but my mug was kind of hovering in the matrix there. So we're gonna do it again. It's a good stopping point. Why did I wear a blue shirt today? Every time I do this. All right. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with it. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, I think we got it. Beautiful. Everybody's pearly whites. Cool. Okay. Resume. There was, I wanted to address, and Davina, are you cool with tackling this? There's a question in the live feed, and Jeffrey actually has been on a couple jam sessions before. I typed it in. Do you have the question there? I'll read it,
I do.
Davina, and then you can kind of address it. So we were seeing interest rates. Let's see. Okay, it says, yeah, hi, I heard from a couple lenders yesterday that interest rates jumped up to about 3.5+% yesterday after being around 3.25% last week. Are you seeing any of that on your end?
Absolutely. So, based upon inflation, we are starting, as I mentioned, to kind of see this shift where, we're moving from 3% to 3.2% to 3.5%. The highest that I'm expecting it to go is really that 3.75 that I mentioned, within that first half of the year. And then we will see it start to go down, but it is pretty normal based upon the market to see rates change on a daily basis. The rate, when we're looking at it, is changing every single day, and it's based upon multiple factors and really the market. So that is a very normal thing, that rates they're changing, and we're seeing a little bit more of a demand, and the market is showing that these rates are going to continue to increase. But the good news is they are going to start to go down a little bit towards the end of the year. But I still think these are still historical rates. These are historical rates. Rates are still low. I still think 3.25%, 3.5% is still a wonderful rate.
Totally. And I think you bring up a good point, and this is worth discussing, is inflation, because, you look at, all right, what was the CPI this year? According to labor statistics, 6.87. So, that's a 4.5% spread on the interest rates. So, every year you're losing 7%, and that's not even counting, the way the CPI is calculated from rent is they basically poll the owners of homes and they say, hey, what would you rent your home out for? So it's not the actual rent. If it were, it'd be way higher. So, that's something I at least talk with my clients where they're looking to rent, and I'm like, hey, look, you do this again, you're going to lose 7% no matter what, assuming your income didn't go up. You're nuts not to buy this, regardless if rates go up, because inflation's, the rates are not tied to inflation at all. We're seeing way more inflation. So, I always try to have that conversation if someone's on the fence, because it makes a lot more sense than renting another year or two.
Yeah, and Quentin, one of the tools that we have here is when we have a client that's kind of torn between renting and buying, we actually send them kind of a 5-year scenario on the cost of waiting. so they can kind of see, what does it look like if you're purchasing now versus if you're waiting, 5 years, and, what's going to happen from an appreciation standpoint, what's going to happen with interest rates. So that's a really cool tool that a lot of our realtors really love is, when you've got that person on the fence, as you mentioned, and they're kind of torn on continuing to rent, sometimes showing them, kind of that 3 to 5 year scenario really helps to push them a little bit.
Right.
Mhm.
So as far as where you guys got going on, are you guys planning any events for, I know with COVID, everything going on, that took a real backseat to everything. And then kind of things loosened up a little bit. And then, now we're going through this next wave. Are you guys thinking of doing any in-person events with clients, anything like that?
We've been talking about doing a broker open because I think that they're a valuable thing to do, broker open, especially if you're really targeting agents that have sold in that market, or just people that are specialists in that area per se. So I think that we've been discussing it, but then we're all in the same boat where we just don't know where people are comfortable. So not for sure, but I'm hoping this year we can at least have small events, just some kind of a small broker open, but obviously it just depends. I have a question for you guys about that. Have you ever had a seller ask you if you could find out if everybody attending a showing was vaccinated?
I have not.
No, but I mean, couldn't you just request the Vax card or a photo of it? Are we?
Yeah, it's an early conversation that I'm having with a seller, and in the list of items, that we're going to discuss when they're interviewing brokers was, how do you handle showings? We would require proof of vaccination for anyone touring the property. And of course, they're the owner, so they can require whatever they want.
Sure.
But just curious if there was a smooth sort of way to handle that. Or maybe something clever I could say to get the listing.
I'm not sure about clever, but I mean, thinking about that, I suppose you're right. It's the seller's direction and whatever they feel comfortable with. One thing I would do if I was going that route is I would put it straight in the showing instructions, just preemptively get that out there versus having to follow up with them, any of the agents that want to show it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say is, I think if it were me in your shoes, I would definitely be clear with them in terms of my own comfortability regarding, I wouldn't be capturing that information for them. They would have to understand and trust that that's being checked, prior to entry or whatnot. But I wouldn't put myself in a position where I would need to, take photographs of people's Vax cards or anything like that. I think that that's a huge liability.
That's true.
And so I would be pretty upfront about, if that's what you want, like, we can definitely abide by that. We'll confirm with everyone prior to entry that they're vaccinated. However, we won't be storing that data or supplying that data to you, similar to how when you go to a restaurant, they're not taking a photo of your Vax card.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
In terms of Jason's,
from a legal standpoint, you guys don't want to get yourselves into any unneeded situations.
Yep.
You can be responsible for something extra like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone saw, so yesterday I actually saw a news clip, and it was the CDC director. They came out and they said that about like 75% of deaths from COVID were associated with like 4 or more comorbidities. Not to, I know COVID is something that everyone's talked about for 2 years, but I thought that was pretty interesting just because to me, it shows that at least there's a shift in sentiment from, higher up, where that was something that probably wouldn't have been discussed, months ago, a few months ago on cable network news. You had the CDC director say something like that. So I get the feeling that there's going to be a large sentiment shift, and that, this is kind of just something that it'll become more mainstream that we're just going to have to live with, because I don't think that we've really been at that point for the past couple of years. So at least having the CDC director come out and say that, it gives governments and politicians more ease to kind of, listen to that and do, be more flexible. I don't know, just something I saw in the news yesterday.
Yeah, personally for me, I think, I tend to think that I have a little bit of a different perspective on everything than some folks, given purely based on the fact that, like, even during the most intense period of lockdown, when there was a stay-at-home order, I was still showing homes, right? And I think a lot of us were in a similar boat where we never fully were quarantined unless we had COVID, right? And so I would say on the whole for my business, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think too, is that overall there has seemed to be less fear when it comes to my clients, and we've been going and seeing homes, we've been touring stuff. I haven't had anyone bring up, requiring vaccination than maybe what some of the media has been portraying, but.
Yeah, same here.
Mm-hmm.
It never really it didn't feel the same for us as it did for others, obviously.
Yeah, I think everyone in our industry kind of had a unique experience that was a lot different than someone who goes to a 9-to-5 job, who was all of a sudden working remote instead of going into an office for 8 hours every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen, just because of COVID, have you seen any benefits from your aspect of things that you do or have changed what you do on a day-to-day basis?
The market.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the market, everyone wanting different things. Go ahead, Robin.
No. It's and just what we are capable of doing remotely. I think even though our jobs primarily we're touring homes in person and but I just closed on a great sale, and I did everything over FaceTime. And of course, we all know that happens, and it's kind of like, oh God, that's a lot on me, but it was awesome, and everything, inspection, everything. I just kind of did this, and and that was all because of COVID and traveling restrictions and things like that. So I think just knowing what we're capable of doing remotely, although in a way terrifying, we can get a lot done, even like closings and stuff. Like, Jason, are you doing all your closings remote still?
I am. Yeah. From my aspect, things have changed dramatically. And initially I thought it was going to be, kind of scary, to be honest. But title companies, mortgage companies, everyone stepped up and got it done. And
for sure.
I think it's best. I'm able to give better service to my clients that I'm dealing with, getting back to them faster instead of driving around to closings all day long. And I'm better able to serve my clients at the closing. If something happens, something pops up, I literally have everything at my fingertips. I can pull it up and take care of them. So, from my aspect, that was one of the huge benefits that I think have come out of it. And 99% of my clients are more than happy with it. There are still some that, prefer me to go and, things of that nature. But, like I said, the large majority are good with it, and they feel comfortable, and it's I think a benefit that came out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I haven't been to a closing in 2 years except for my own personal purchase. That's been a welcome time saver.
Amazing.
We've had it differently. We've obviously had to be on premise to do these. So
virtual inspections.
Yeah, we've been at every one of those, but I think we've still kept the not the restrictions, but everybody's got masks, everybody's got gloves. We sanitize our tools before and after to kind of limit it just in case, but it just makes sense. But yeah, we've been in it from the beginning, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
We got a couple minutes. Let's wrap up. Brittany, I love your idea. One quick thing, 10, 15 seconds or less that you're going to do to challenge yourself heading into 2022. And since it was your idea, Brittany, you have the luxury of going first. We might not get to everybody, but if you want to chime in, just something that you think that could help the cause, help the group.
One is a branding video, because I don't like being on screen, but here we are. But the other main thing is I'm taking an improv class, and I've been told it'd be free. Yeah, because I'm really type A and I like to be in control and understand exactly what's going to happen at all times. and improv takes you out of that. So here we go. Starts tomorrow.
Giddy up.
Love that.
Cool.
That's great.
Congrats.
I think that, I don't know if challenge myself is the word, but just something that me and my partner Amber have discussed too, is just trusting our instincts this year and not prolonging the inevitable. If a seller is being unreasonable in pricing and things like that, just knowing when to say, this is probably not a good fit and we wish you good luck, and not looking back for 4 or 5 months later and wishing that we had done that. Just really saying, we know what we're doing, and we like to work with people who trust us, and we're gonna, just trust our instincts this year.
I love that, because you're essentially just leaning on your experience. I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
different if you were 3 months into the business, but you have the kind of the street cred to do that. That's awesome. Kudos
Yeah.
to you. Sweet.
Thank you. See how that goes.
Yeah. We'll get you on the jam session, the first one of 2023, and you can
Yeah.
recap it, right?
Right.
Anybody? Challenge? We got time for one more. Who wants to wrap up? Brave soul. Or we can just cut it.
I can go. Yeah. So, I mean, this year I definitely want to, I did about, this was kind of my first year where I broke into sales. But I want to be able to double that going into next year. So that would be about, 20 mils. That's what our team's trying to do. And then personal goal, I'm a soccer player, but my knees are getting worse and worse every day. So trying to quit that. And I've actually started doing jujitsu. So that's been something that's like totally fresh and new and like a crazy challenge in of itself. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's been super distracting and like very meditative. Just feel it's kind of like, learning a new language, something just is completely foreign. So it's been great.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Well, hey, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I'm going to cut the live feed in 3, 2. All right. We're not Facebook Live. This is private on Zoom. Seriously, guys, thank you so much. We're a minute over, so go make money. I want to just thank you guys. And hopefully, I think everybody on here we're going to see in February, but we are very sensitive to the state of the community and just the city in general. So if stuff happens, we'll send emails and communications out. But I wish everybody a productive day. Thanks for hanging
Thank you
out
so
with
much.
us.
Thanks,
We're
Andy.
gonna get
Appreciate
another
it.
one of
Bye.
these.
Bye.
Thanks, Andy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
everyone.
Nice meeting you all.
Nice
Take
to
care.
meet you. Bye-bye.